I scheduled you for an interview. Now you had to go get it.
Right.
And so you went down and you must have acquitted yourself well with the panel, but you interviewed and then a few days later you were told, hey, congratulations, you got selected. You're going to spend spring break in Serbia.
I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the Call Your Dad podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to our podcast, Call Your Dad, father-daughter duo. And we just talk about life and stories from our past and raising children and just life in general. So today's topic, we are going to talk about unsolicited advice from your dad. Okay, because I know that you understand.
I should have charged you for that advice.
Yeah, no.
It's valuable advice.
I think everybody can relate when you don't ask for the advice, but it's given to you anyway. And
Freely, often.
When you're a teenager, though, it's not advice that's just given. It's advice that's also implemented and made to take serious. So we'll just get right into it. We have this story that when I was a teenager, Panama City Beach was the hype. Panama City, spring break, no parents, the Holiday Inn. And it was like when MTV was doing it, so it was just like a big deal. I wanted to go so bad, and you would never let me.
No, because so for context, she'd come to me, she'd be like 13 and 14 years old, and like, my friend is going to go with her older sister and her friends from college, and they said that I can go. I'm like, well, who's going to be there? Well, my friend's older sister and her friends. Well, how old are they? Like 19 to 22. And so some 19 to 22-year-old college students, you and another 14-year-old girl are going to go to Panama City Beach. Yeah. And of course, I'm like, well,
no,
we ain't going to do that. Like, that's why don't you trust me? Why you're ruining my life?
You're ruining my life. I hate you. So, all of my friends they were allowed to go. And, you say 13, 14, but some of them, I mean, at this point, I think 15, 16.
You started asking at like 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
But I knew that I couldn't hold you off forever. Like I knew I knew that the day would come when, man, she is old enough that she's got a legitimate claim on going.
Right.
I'm thinking maybe when she's like 35, I'll let her go. But, but I knew I couldn't hold it off forever.
Forever.
All right.
So I think 15, 16, everyone's starting to plan for it. And now it's like, well, there's like a group. So there's a group of like 7 girls going, a couple girls from Floyd Central, a couple girls from New Albany. I don't think anyone from Christian Academy. But anyways, we were starting to plan to go. And I'm thinking this is it. Like I am going to go to Serbia or go to Panama City this year. And instead, tell them where I went. What did I do instead?
All right. So sometimes it's not enough as a parent to say no to something. You have to be able to say yes to something else. Like you have to swap the orange for the apple. So I belong to this association called the World Affairs Council.
Yeah.
And I saw where they put out an email asking for people that wanted to compete for like 7 or 8 slots to go on this student travel abroad program that went to Serbia. Going to fly into Belgrade, travel around the country, former Yugoslav Republic for like 9 or 10 days. And I looked at the dates like, oh my gosh, like that's her spring break. Well, she wants to go to Panama City really bad, but I may have an opportunity to send her to a former war-torn country where we had done military operations. Like I'd rather send her there, with a couple of chaperones than send her down to Panama City with a bunch of teenagers. So I'm not sure if you knew when the dates were or not.
I didn't.
So I scheduled you for an interview. Now you had to go get it.
Right.
And so you went down and you must have acquitted yourself well with the panel, but you interviewed and then a few days later you were told, hey, congratulations, you got selected. You're going to spend spring break in Serbia. So before you went, the movie Taken had come out.
That's right.
And knowing where you were going, and more importantly, like knowing how you acted at the time, I made you watch Taken with me.
I do remember.
But I was also very clear to tell you, look, the first half of this movie is actually not too far-fetched.
If you will be
young,
taken.
innocent, naive, attractive American girl goes someplace, makes bad decisions, and ends up getting, kidnapped by the Russian mob. I said, now the second half of the movie is where it goes off the rails. Like, I am not Liam Neeson. Like, if you think that you can get yourself kidnapped by the mafioso and that I'm going to be able to go over and engineer a rescue operation, like, you need to flush that pipe dream right now, because your movie basically ends with you being hooded and thrown into the back of a windowless van.
Like, that's where it ends for me.
Yeah, I mean that. So I was afraid, like, man, is she dumb enough to get over there and start doing dumb things, making bad decisions? Like, hell, maybe she'll be so like overcome by fear being in this strange land with strange people that'll scare her straight. No,
it didn't. We get over there and we do all the educational things. We're doing all the chores, traveling.
Yeah.
But the girl so we went over as a group and did group things, but then they placed us individually in homes.
With families,
With
right.
families.
Right.
And the girl they placed me with, I mean, we were one.
Yeah.
We were
Great.
spirit animals.
Oh, this is wonderful.
And she loved to party. She was a big party girl. And we would just go out at 10, 11, midnight. I mean, her parents knew that we were going. That was just a big thing. Everyone drank, everyone partied, and everyone smoked. So we would go and just get on her sister's friend's boat, go out and just, I know. Well, what's crazy,
I got heartburn now thinking about it.
What's crazy though, is I think back doing that, and like now I have anxiety when I walk into Kroger and I can't figure out, like, I can't remember, like, is the bread this way?
Oh,
or
you
this
have
way?
anxiety.
Because
Yeah. Well, then there was about a 48-hour period where she went radio silent. I couldn't get a hold of her. She wasn't answering text or emails. Now,
Man,
this was like 15, 16 years ago. It wasn't as
easy. I didn't have a phone.
but it wasn't impossible.
No.
And I remember just you kind of being off the grid. And
you're
so,
like,
of course, whether by nature or nurture, I mean, I'm a recovering combat pilot. Like, I just always assume
the worst.
that there's always a predator behind every corner. There's an enemy over every ridgeline. And so when you send your teenage daughter to Serbia and then she disappears for a couple days, I mean, I don't think I'm being too paranoid to wonder, what was happening here, right? And then also, just a quick before we move on, NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, led operations in Kosovo in the late 90s. And the U.S. Air Force was lead element, as always, running front on that. And we had, the coalition had bombed like plenty of targets inside of Serbia. And I said, Cassandra, whatever you do not let anybody know that your dad is an Air Force pilot. Like, whatever you do, do not let anybody know that. And then when you came back, you said, oh yeah, I told everybody. I'm like,
I went, what is wrong with me? I mean,
imagine like if another country had bombed Louisville and Southern Indiana like 12 years ago. And then a teenager came over and was like, oh yeah, my dad, oh yeah, he was a pilot in that country. I'm like, it's like you're almost like daring God to smite you.
I'm like,
you're almost like asking.
Well, I feel like as a teenager, I was so stubborn, and I really felt like I know everything.
Yeah.
Like, I know everything, and I am untouchable.
Maybe if I had said, hey, please tell everybody that your dad's an Air Force pilot,
I definitely
you
would
would
have
like,
done
no, you would, no, my dad, yeah.
Not doing it. Yeah. Not doing it.
So, all right. So as you were talking and the airplane thing popped into my head, I remember back during one of the thunders over Louisville, so at that time, I was still heavily involved in putting the whole air show together. Mm-hmm. And on Thunder Day, all my planning was done, but now I am in execution mode.
You're in work mode.
Yeah, I mean, putting out fires, pop-up crises. And I'm up in the command center. I got, 2 or 3 phone calls going. I got people in my ear. Then all of a sudden, my personal phone rings, and it's Mom. You were, I think, maybe like 14 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was very clear about you not walking around.
Like, I can't leave the hotel because we're at the Galt House.
Don't leave the
hotel. Like, you're not allowed to leave the hotel.
Yeah.
Like, you're here with us.
Yes. And so then I get that phone call from Mom, like, she's trying to leave. I can't stop. Like, part of me is like, you're the mom. Like, punch her in the
Stop her.
face. Like, do something. I mean, do something, right? Trip her, So, but I'll let you maybe take over from there, because obviously your perspective is like you're looking down from the balcony of
I'm
the
looking
guard house
down
room.
and I'm seeing fun. I'm seeing teenagers. I'm seeing cute teenage boys. I'm seeing cotton candy rides. I had my 2 girlfriends with me, and we're just sitting in the hotel, which sounds like such a spoiled brat moment, but it's like we're sitting here bored.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everyone down there is having fun. So that's just where we wanted to go. And I couldn't understand, like, why are we not allowed to go down there? I'm looking at a bunch of kids right here in Louisville on the waterfront.
Right.
No parents. Let us just go down.
And so this is one, like I've shared before, where I look back now and think, okay, my heart was in the right place, but I was probably still treating you like 12, even though you're 14, right? Like I've admitted before how sometimes as a parent, I was a chapter behind, because at that stage, at 14, it means that there's people in your orbit that are like 16, 17.
Right.
My theory, my operating philosophy for you at that stage was, it is the enemy if it has car keys or a penis. Like if that will forever like shade like how I look at the world, right? Now, of course, you just think I'm being like this unreasonable ogre, like I can't believe it.
You suck.
Right. And so I feel like, did you actually get out of the hotel?
No.
The mom.
I don't think so. I think grandma was there, and she set me straight.
Yes.
I think she might have spanked me in front of my friends.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a grandma thing. Grandma spanked me a couple times as a teenager.
Right.
And I remember like being like, oh, okay, I'm not messing around. But I think she sat me down and was like, listen here.
Yeah.
Your dad's working. If you don't sit down or something. It scared me enough that I don't think we left the hotel.
That's okay. So now that you're saying that, I do remember that being a thing, because then mom, grandma called me. And so like, all right, hey, guys, I'll be right back. So I got to leave the command center where there's like 1,000 different things going on and go down to the 3rd floor, like the breezeway between the 2 towers. And I'm down there, in my flight suit with multiple radios and phones on me, talking with you and mom and grandma and your friends about, and so that I think is a good insight that every parent can relate to, in that you could be at work with any number of, let's just call them important things going on, but whatever your kid has going on to them is the most important thing. Right. So we've all like been at work and you get a phone call at, 1 o'clock. Hey, the science fair just started. Are you going to drop your kid's science fair project off? You're like, what science project?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But to the kid, it's a big deal.
It's the big deal.
Yeah, and so like that eternal difference in perspective, like the kid and the parent look at the exact same thing and they see it two completely different ways. But as a parent, we are never afforded the luxury of disengaging from parent mode. We can disengage from friend mode, work mode,
it's always on,
personal mode, but we always got to be in parent mode. And so along those lines, I remember one time, it was 2009. So you would have been
freshman. I would have been freshman in high school.
Okay. So I'm in Afghanistan, leading a tactical, flying unit, 24/7 operation. And because of the time zone differential, I think Afghanistan might be about 7 or 8 hours ahead of East Coast time. Most of our heavier missions were at night because we had an advantage over the enemy with like imaging and night vision goggles. So I am going out to fly a mission. I've already done like my tactics brief, my intel brief. I've geared up, checked out on my classifieds. And I made the mistake. I made the mistake. I had about 5 minutes to spare. I'm like, let me check my personal email. So I pull up yahoo.com and there's an email from mom. Call me, all caps, exclamation point. I'm like, oh gosh. Ugh. So I grab a satellite phone. I go outside, dial the like 24 numbers to finally make the phone ring.
To get it ring.
Mom calls. So if it was like 2 a.m. there, it would have been like 7 o'clock at night. Hello? Mom's real frantic. I'm like, yeah, what is it, babe? I'm getting ready to go fly a combat mission. You know, I didn't say that, but I'm like, what's going on?
What's going on?
Cassandra got invited to this school function, and there's going to be swimming, and it clearly says you cannot wear a 2-piece bathing suit. And she's got this thing called a tankini, and she says that it's technically a 1-piece. I'm like, I've never heard the word tankini in my life. I'm like, put Cassandra on the phone. So then you get on the phone, and you're like, Dad, it is. It's a 1-piece. It's 1-piece. Like the top actually touches the bottom. I'm like, do you have to put on 2 things? Well, yes, like there's not a 1. No, so now I'm like, hang on, guys. I'm basically saying, hey, would you all mind just like pressing pause on the air war so I can go inside and get on Google? So now I'm in there, fully geared up, helmet bag over my shoulder, Beretta 9mm strapped to my leg, briefed up, ready to go step to a plane to fly a combat sortie. And I'm Googling like tankini, which already makes me look like a freaking weirdo. Like I'm in the office in a tactical center with pictures of like young ladies in bathing suits. And I'm looking at it. And again, it's one of those, it was emblematic of the fact that if there was ever a line, you always wanted to go right up to it. And I'm thinking like, it basically is a 1-piece, just wear the 1-piece. But I think it was just,
I was wearing the tankini.
Right. And so, that was one of just many installments. Again, every parent can relate to that. Maybe you've not been ready to step out to an airplane to go fly a combat sortie, but every parent has had those moments like where you're at work.
Your kids are like, ugh.
And you're thinking, your issue is so inconsequential. You have no idea how small this is, and you're making my life unnecessarily harder. But hey, you're a parent. You sign up for that.
Right.
Like that, whatever that issue is to the kid, that's like the biggest.
It's your issue.
Oh my gosh.
It's your issue that you're taking on. Oh, for sure. I definitely feel like there's many times where it, like Isabella, for example, like, I mean, this is nothing compared to teenage years, but I mean, sometimes she'll just get in her head, like, I'll be in, just got home from work and she's like, okay, can we get in the car and go to Great Wolf Lodge? Because that's all I've been thinking about all day. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no. But I mean, she'll get a little like upset about it. Like, why? Why can we not just go now?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you don't even understand. You have no idea. Like, I'm at work all day. It costs a lot of money. It's hours away.
Yeah.
It's not just.
Well, I can give you a tip for how to deal with that. Because when you and Alexander, when he was younger, would do things like that, I would just drive about 14 minutes across town to this warehouse that had burned down and just tell you that, oh, look, Great Wolf Lodge burned down.
No,
it's not here anymore.
No, you did not. I was like,
it's a good idea, though.
As you're telling the story, I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
But it would work.
It would. And be traumatizing. So.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, I've had therapy for all the reasons that I was so bad and so so close to the line every time. Just as a teenager.
Yeah. So, all right. What are some other like unsolicited advice? Like, what are some other things you can think of where even if you didn't say it, you're thinking, gosh, I would give you good money if you would just shut your mouth, Dad, and not tell me things I don't want to hear.
I'm going to go short shorts. The short phase.
Oh, yes.
The Hollister and Abercrombie shorts that everyone else was allowed to wear. I was not allowed to wear, but I did. My girlfriends gave me some, and I would sneak them.
Yeah.
I would sneak them in my bag. But one time, so when we lived in Chapel Creek, I want to say I didn't know you were home, or maybe that you had just came home, and I was trying to leave. And Mom was a little bit more oblivious to the short shorts thing. So I had them on, and I was walking down the stairs, and you were coming in, or you were somewhere, and you stopped me. And you're like, where did you get those? You know you're not allowed to wear them. Go upstairs and change. Yeah. And I think I tried to like argue. Like I think I tried to hold my foot down on that one. Like, no, like I'm wearing these shorts.
Yeah. And again, for people that are, if you're trying to visualize, I mean, they really were the length of so many other girls' shorts at the time. Like you would not have been the only one wearing those.
No.
But like, I've said before, like I'm not interested in what those girls are wearing, right? Like I'm not their dad. So this is the one where you had really been resistant and rebellious for a while. Like I was beginning to get somewhat worn down with arguing with you because again, to a fault, I'm arguing on these philosophical terms, I'm arguing about, what you're communicating, blah, blah, blah. You're just looking at it as this is fashion. This is what everybody else is wearing, right? So we're looking at the same issue with two very different, not just perspectives, but starting points. But I was getting somewhat worn down. Now you're very strong-willed. I'm very strong-willed. I had always resolved that, in a battle of will, you will break my back before you break my spirit. Like I am. If I lose, I'm not going to lose because I ran out of juice. But I was getting worn out. I was getting tired, and so I remember. So I went. This is the time where I went upstairs, and I found a pair of shorts. I mean, my shorts were typical dad shorts, cargo shorts, whatever. But I just started rolling and rolling and rolling, and I rolled those shorts up until I looked like Jim Dangle off of Reno 911.
You looked like Singing George, like the Happy Telegram singer that's local here. He's all the short shorts,
right. And then I came down, and I think originally you thought I was just trying to make a point, but I said something to the effect of, "Look, I'm tired of arguing with you. Like I am done with words. I am done with logic. I'm all in. If this is how you want to dress, this is how I'm going to dress. Let's go." You're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "If you want to go to Harvest Homecoming in Daisy Dukes, then I'm going to go with you. Dress the exact same." And I'm so glad that was enough that time to get you to back off, because I think Nixon once said, "Never take a hostage you're not prepared to shoot." Like, this is one you can't be bluffing.
Yeah.
So I had, as I'm rolling the shorts up, I'm looking in the mirror like, okay, are you fully committed to this? Because you can't be down there.
You have to.
I once I say I'm going to do this. And now.
Well, that's something you've always told me too with my kids. When I say something, you're like, if you threaten them with something or say
gotta
something,
follow through.
You have to follow through.
You got it. Yeah.
Because the one time you don't, it's over. They know you're the weaker. You're the weaker individual.
That's right.
So
you can't let them win.
You have to follow through.
Right. Because if there's one thing that's most important about parenting, it's always winning.
you always have to be number one.
Right. All right. Well, I think we're probably running close to the time. Any parting thoughts or insights that these things from your childhood now show up in your parenting?
I think honestly, and for anybody listening, I think when people give you advice, I think it's really important that as long as the people who are telling you advice, that they like love and care about you, I think 99% of the time it's usually good advice for your own good. Now, not all advice is good though, because if it's coming from a certain source, that source might not have your best interest.
That's right.
I think it's really important, so we say unsolicited advice from dad. I would say that if your dad or your mom is giving you a piece of advice, whether you're a teenager or an adult or even an older adult, that if you believe they love you, they're probably helping you in your best interest. So that's kind of my takeaway.
I'm 51 years old, and
my grandma still gives you advice.
Sure, and my grandmother's still alive, and I think what I figured out is if I want a hack to get through my day, I will maybe ask an influencer. If I want wisdom to get through life, I will ask an elder, even at my age, because my parents and my grandmother are decades ahead of me in life. So they've done it. That's right. They've been to places I've not been, like in their stages of their life. So I appreciate you sharing about if the intent, motivation, and the heart is pure in the person giving the advice, consider it. I'll flip it around and say, as the person who was giving you the advice, we need to work hard, not to condone, but to at least appreciate how that kid sees it. Yeah. Because too often I would stand on principle saying, come over here and see it my way. And that principle probably became pride at a certain point. I should have, in retrospect, made some work to proverbially meet you where you were. Sure. And even if I wasn't ever going to agree on how long shorts should be, I could at least have tried, okay, how does a 14-year-old girl see this? Because even though I was right then and I am right now, I should have done a little more work to at least, seen it with some empathy from your perspective. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening again. See you next time. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode.
Yes, please make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
See you next time.